il y a la cour intérieure qui est finalement entre le bâtiment de 1923 qui donne sur la rue University et l'aile de 1965 qui a été construite. Les ailes ne sont pas en parallèle et la cour est là. Il y a un quai de livraison effectivement, mais éventuellement il va y avoir un aménagement paysager. Et ça, c'est l'entrée. Ça date des années 65, évidemment. C'était une entrée sur la cour. On a donc profité de cette entrée-là. Puis c'est le point d'entrée vers le centre Alan Word de recherche formulaire.
I personally moved into this building. I was the first one here in July of last year, so July of 2022. And then starting in August until November, we had 7 of 8 PIs that were coming in this building that had moved their labs over. The original idea for pain clinics is that the problem with pain is so complex that it's not like you just can't go to a regular GP and get a solution. You need to have a multidisciplinary team. You need to have nurses, you need a physiotherapist, you need a psychologist, you need to have a whole team who will come in on an individual patient basis, consult on that, and come up with a complex plan that helps the patient manage their pain. And if that's going to be true at the clinical level, then quite obviously it has to be true at the research level as well.
And the other thing about this center is that it allows to bring a lot of this expertise under one roof, whereas before that we were spread across campus. So having this building bring together all this expertise means that we can work a lot faster towards these discoveries.
Yeah.
The trainings are mixed between labs too, so it forces this interaction between the different expertise. And in the hallway, as they walk or they go to the water cooler,
So I mean, our meeting room upstairs, in addition to being a large meeting room, serves as a lunchroom.
Yeah.
And so you have people who are interacting on a regular basis who previously would have had a harder time to do it.
So it allows to break those silos where typically geneticists would just work with geneticists and behavioral scientists only with behavioral science. Now they're forced, they will bump into each other in the hallway and they'll talk to each other, and then you'll realize that there are a lot of questions that they could be answering together
and helping each other grow their research by providing
so there's a synergy that's built doing that. In aisles of well design, we have flowers, we have artwork, etc. It means that the
inspiring. There's also a sustainability aspect of making space more efficient. I'll call that efficient if you have open lab versus closed rooms.
As you see, most of the wet lab is kind of like an open plan. I mean, you've got some nice design features that indicate or clearly show whose space is what, because I mean, still benches are assigned to people, and the way you use color on the floors in particular, that was quite smart.
Okay.
It very clearly delineates my space from your space, you know, and that's important when you're dealing with shared space environments. But in terms of the private rooms, the idea is that for some people, that maybe they're using a particular piece of research equipment that's very noisy, or it's something that has to be done on the opposite. Instead of creating too much noise, it's something that needs like much more quiet because of the nature of the technology, or because you're doing some sort of analysis and you need to get away from the brouhaha that's all around you. And so that was the whole point behind those private rooms. It allowed people the flexibility to both share space, and sharing space is more than just about sharing space. It facilitates sharing equipment.
And there were a lab here and a lab there. So we moved the corridor, we made the offices on the inner courtyard, and all the lab, that's what you see in that cyan color, all the lab space are now on the Molson Stadium side.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, the research they do here is mostly BSL-1,
But when we were going through the process, I was pointed out that the difference between 1 and 2, from a financial point of view, was negligible. And so with the idea of future growth and flexibility for the university, the west spaces were all done to BSL2, even though, as I said, we don't really use that. It's there should it ever be necessary. So this room here, there's ongoing work in various places that's going on. So that these desks were normally up against this wall. They needed to access this for some of the work they were doing. But this is basically a microscope room. Okay, it's got a confocal microscope, a couple of light microscopes. It's pretty straightforward. One of the reasons why we decided to put this and the other rooms we're going to see shortly in the basement is because these are rooms in which either light, natural light, is either not desired or irrelevant. Okay, and this room here is the cell culture facility. Cabinet. This is the only cabinet that we have at this time. Okay, but it gives you an idea of how the room operates. Okay, it's a straightforward facility where the point is that type of device. So this is a freezer product.
It's a really big one.
It's rated to take 21 minus 80 freezers plus 1 liquid nitrogen storage facility. We do not have all the freezers as of this moment. We're still in process. So I mentioned earlier, the other thing that's in this room is a liquid nitrogen storage tank. The tank is, we're in the process, this is one of the last things that's being done. And basically the tank is here. But this device here, as you can see, is about 3.5, 4 feet high. Will sit right here, it'll be connected to this device. And basically because of the situation in the basement, because of the difficulty of getting things to and from this area, it was decided that a tank of this size would not be something you could easily move to and from a truck for refilling. So we permanently fixed this tank in the floor, and the plumbing that you see up above goes up into the ceiling and goes out that wall where there is a nozzle on the far side, and where basically the truck will pull up, unlock the nozzle, stick his thing in, fill up the tank. A door, an entrance, a secondary entrance was created here into the duct through the back alley. It's straightforward. It's not a good visual right now because the so-called SASE project is working on these buildings, and so they've got a lot of stuff in the way. But the most frequent thing that we'll probably have delivered here is things like gas tanks. Okay, I'm talking CO2 or O2, and basically what happens is the company, when it delivers, it puts the full tanks on this side, and any empty tanks are put on this side, and they take the empty tanks away.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like it was, like I feel very lucky to like land here to get started. It's been really smooth. Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, I mean, we're figuring out how functional it is and have no complaints.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emerson.
No, it's an amazing. It's like a little oasis here
Okay.
of concentration and advancing pain research. So I'm about to go and do that.
Oh well.
Well, I'll see you guys later.
Yes.